Hey Internet, today we're going to be looking at how we can position assets we implement in Wwise. So are we just placing something at a static location in the stereo field? Are we actually placing it in the game world? And if it's in the game world, how do we add variation to its location? Depending on what we're trying to implement, we may want to add that level of variation and chance and at least perceived randomness in terms of something's placement. So I'm going to go through some of the materials that Audiokinetic put out to help folks learn Wwise, and we'll implement some placement in terms of shotgun shells, shotgun pumps, and footsteps. All right, today we're going to look at positioning in Wwise and how we can actually tell Wwise how to interpret and place things in the game environment. And you can do this in terms of actually placing it in the 3D environment itself, or you can just directly assign a specific location in the stereo field as opposed to the 3D game environment to position things. We're going to do that by doing the positioning for the shotgun shells falling on the ground after we fire our shotgun, and I'm going to teach you a trick just to give a little more of a sense of realism in terms of the footsteps. With shotgun shells, we're going to place them in the 3D world environment. With footsteps, we're just going to assign their location. So let's look at what Fire Shotgun Player does right now. All right, so that is firing our shotgun blast, and we have a pump in, pump out, and then we hear the shotgun shells. But you'll notice you can either hear it or just look at my master audio bus, that while it all sounds really cool, intense, and fantastic, that it's all happening right in the center of the stereo field, and it's not really placing it in the game environment. So let's position our shotgun shells so that they're a bit more realistic. To do this, select shotgun shells, the playlist or sequence container, and then we're going to go into the positioning tab. So when you first select it, you'll see the general settings. Go here to positioning, and then you'll be able to see a ton of different options here. First off, speaker panning, direct assignment, or balance fade. With direct assignment, we are going to, that's essentially saying, do you want to put this in the game environment, or do you want to just assign this a specific location in the stereo field? For the shotgun shells, we're going to do direct assignment. For 3D spatialization, we want to use its position. We won't go into orientation. And then down here for 3D position, we're going to do emitter with automation. So this is going to allow us to have the sounds take place at a specific location of the game environment, but then also move from that location once the sound is triggered. So with that selected, I'm going to hit automation. And here we're going to create a number of paths for our shotgun shells to travel along. So I'm going to start first by hitting paths, new, and I'll just call the shotgun shells path 1. And the way this works is right now, when I trigger it, it's right in the center, right? And if I move it over here to the side, now we hear it almost exclusively on the right side, okay? So if I just wanted to place something and have it always be there, that's how I could do that. But if you think about the nature of shotgun shells, after they're fired, they hit on the ground, they skip around, they move. So we need to include that movement in the placement of these sounds itself. So rather than just having one node of location, I'm going to double click in this area a couple times and give my shotgun shells a pathway to travel along. All right. Lastly, I'm also going to hit this continuous button. If I left it at step, every time it was triggered, it would place the shotgun shells at the next point here that I've created. But if I do continuous, then when it's triggered, it's going to travel along this pathway that I've created with all of these different points over a set amount of time. And right now, you can see down here that it travels that pathway over the course of 5 seconds. So we still get things over to the right, but we're not really getting quite that amount of movement that we're looking for, just because it's gradually traveling over 5 seconds. So I'm going to configure timeline and change this length to, I'll do 2.5. So now it's going to travel along that same path, but it's going to take 2.5 seconds to do it. So hopefully we'll be able to hear a little bit more of that movement now. You can hear it, right? It's starting here, then it moves over, right? You can hear it moving throughout. So now when our shotgun shells are triggered, they're going to give that sense of randomness and bouncing around on the floor. But right now it's following the same path every single time. So I'm going to create a few more of these that Wwise can select. So same thing here. I'm gonna have it start here, maybe go there. For this one, oh, and also remember to configure your timelines so it doesn't take too long to move along that path. Here, I'll make it start way over here. .5. And then for this last one, I'll have it start over here. Something like that. So now, that'll be a path, that'll be a path. Bunch of different paths, right? And then lastly, I'm going to hit this random button. And these are determining how we're choosing which path we're going to follow. And then under play mode, that's where we're determining how we're going to move through that path. So again, continuous, we're moving along that path. Step would mean that every time we choose that path, we are just at the next point on that path. So now when I trigger it, it's choosing a random one every time. Oh, and I just noticed I didn't configure this timeline. Make that move a bit quicker as well. So now let's hear what our Fire Shotgun player event sounds like. Cool, cool. Okay, shotgun shells are working fine. We can add a little bit more realism by making our shotgun pumps placed where they would be if we were actually our character. Assuming it's a right-handed character, it's going to be a little off to the right as opposed to the center where it currently is. So I'm going to select both of my sound effects objects, create a new actor mixer, make it shotgun pumps. Our event is still referencing and using these sound effects objects, but now I can place the actor mixer and it will impart the positioning onto the sound effects objects within it. So for this, I'm going to go to balance fade, edit, and I'm just going to put it right here. So you can hear it and you can see it as well, that it's just a little off to the right. If I want to mess with that a bit more, maybe I can do that, just to exaggerate it. Okay, now let's listen to that. Seeming much more realistic at this point. Cool. Last thing I'm going to do is a trick that I like to do for footsteps. It's used in a lot of titles, but just again to add that little bit more of a sense of realism and actually being that character and occupying that space. For footsteps right now, if we listen to it, it's all completely in the center, right? But what would be ideal is if when we take a step with our left foot, we actually hear it a little to the left. And when we take a step with our right foot, we actually hear it a little to the right. So I can't just do balance fade because that's just placing it somewhere and we want to be able to make this move. So I'm going to do direct assignment, 3D spatialization, I will do position. Then under 3D position, I will do emitter with automation. Okay, and within emitter with automation, I'm going to do the same thing that I did with the shotgun shells, except I'm not going to have them travel along a path. I can just create two paths, one for left, one for right. And with those two paths created, I can just place each of them to where I'd like the footstep to be. Put that there. Maybe I'll put this over here. And if I wanted, I could get very specific in terms of typing in X and Y values if I wanted there as well. But now when I trigger footsteps, it's going back and forth, right? So that's possible because we're doing play type sequence, so it's always going to go in that order. If we did random, we might get 2 right footsteps in a row, which is not what we're going for. And our play mode is step. Actually, it really doesn't matter because we only have 1 point on this path. So left and right steps accordingly. Okay, so let's give a listen now to our shotgun. You can see it gives that sense of random shells falling and going different locations depending. And we also have our footsteps going left and right just to give that sense of realism. So real topical, this is how you can get positioning into your Wwise session and how it can really help create something that's much more lifelike, engaging, and really help with that sense of immersion. Hope this video was helpful. If you have any questions on anything we covered, please feel free to throw them in the comments. And if you'd like some game, audio, music, implementation, sound design goodness in your inbox every once in a while, be sure to hit that subscribe button or go to unlockaudio.com/free to sign up for our newsletter. And also just check out unlockaudio.com because we do some cool stuff and you should check it out. Thanks so much for watching.